This video I'm going to be doing is on foam rolling with a tennis ball, or if you have a lacrosse ball at home. Myofascial release is something that can be used to help recover from workouts, or if you have any bound tissue due to injuries, overuse, or misalignment on the joints, it will help in alignment. It'll also help increase mobility by hydrating the tissues and allowing the muscles to be more pliable and ultimately more mobile for you, so increasing mobility. It'll also help with flexibility because some of those bound tissues, that myofascial tissue that surrounds all of your muscles and joints, become tight and bound, and these help to release them. When you add this to also stretching, it'll increase mobility and flexibility more than just stretching alone. So we're going to start with your feet today. You can just take either, like I said, tennis ball or lacrosse ball. You're going to place it right underneath that foot. If you need to hold on to the wall, be near a wall if you need to. You're going to stand on that right on the inside of the base of the toe and the front of the heel. So right in through that arch. We're going to first lightly press into that ball, working your way from the outer arch to the inner arch. So right now we're going with the line of the muscle tissue. You can also go cross-sectionally with that muscle, kind of going side to side. Again, working your way from the front to the back. If you find any areas of tension, you can lightly press down on that. This is your first time doing this. I would go a little more gentle, see how your body responds to it, and then you can also always put more pressure on it the next time that you do it. If you are pushing down in an area of tension, hold no longer than 60 seconds and then move on to another spot. You can do one spot anywhere from a couple minutes if you're going in that front to back or side to side motion. Good, and then switch it over to the other side. So again, from the base of that toe to the front of the heel, going through that from the inside of that arch, working your way over to the outside of the arch. You can also go side to side, cross-sectionally with that muscle. So you're going against that muscle, that line of that muscle fiber, and myofascial tissue. Find any areas of tension, you can lightly press down into that spot, again, holding 30 to 60 seconds. You can then move into another spot. So anytime you're doing myofascia techniques, not holding longer than 60 seconds in one spot and not pushing on any bones, just staying in the area of that myofascia and muscle. And also then work through it again after you've maybe held in a couple spots. Your feet help in alignment in your ankles, knees, and hips. So sometimes this can also help in that alignment. When you roll out an area, especially your feet, you can also kind of see how your feet feel after you have aligned it as well. It might even take some pressure off the lower back and feel like your posture is better too. We're going to move down onto the floor and start with our calves. With our calves, you can, there's a few ways of doing it. You can use a foam roller to do like a bigger section of the calves if you're just trying to roll out that big part. With the ball, that kind of helps to get into maybe smaller areas in the muscle that you might have, what are called trigger points. Trigger points are those bound areas of myofascia that become bound and tight, and we're trying to release some of those using a smaller myofascial release tool. So to do your calves, an easy way is to kind of break up the calf into two areas. Your gastrocnemius is that bigger muscle at the top, and your soleus is another calf muscle that runs and tucks under that gastrocnemius. So we'll start up higher on that top half of the calf, just placing the ball underneath the calf. The opposite knee can be bent. You can also place books underneath the leg if you want to push down a little bit more into the calf. With those hands, just place them with either the fingertips out or fingertips towards you, just not back behind, putting pressure on that wrist. So either hands out to the side or towards the front. When you're rolling out that calf, you can slide your hips kind of up and down, or you can actually lift your hips up to push a little bit more into that area. By turning your feet inward or turning your toes outward, that'll also change that position that you're getting into within that calf muscle. You can also stack that bent knee over the top to apply a little bit more pressure into the calves. If you find a sore spot, you can just hold that. If you find those sore spots and they're kind of tender, just try to take some deep breaths in and out. Try not to tense that area up as you're having that pressure on that. So nice deep inhales and exhales when you find one of those sore spots. And then just kind of work your way to another spot. If you find another sore spot, you're just kind of holding. You don't have to cross that leg. If it's enough tension here, you're just pressing down a little bit into that ball. Like I said, you can also have a couple books or a yoga block stacked underneath you. Working down to the lower part of the calf, more into the soleus. Same position with the hands. You can have that bent knee. Your hips can stay on the floor if that's too much on your shoulders or your wrist, or you can lift your hips up. Turning that toe in or out to get out and to the outer side, and turning it in to get onto that inner side. If you find any of those sore spots, you can lightly press into that, or remember you have an option of crossing the leg to push into it a little bit deeper. Relaxing the shoulders and the wrist. Deep breaths in and out. And then moving on to the other leg. So again, we'll start in the upper half of it. So placing that ball right underneath the foot. The other knee is bent, just sliding your hips up and down or pushing off the hands, pressing down into the calf. Turning the toes out and in to get different spots. Find one of those sore spots. You can just hold and breathe. Once you've done this a couple times, you might notice the spots and the areas of tension that you have, and you can go directly into those spots. When you're first doing it, you're kind of exploring to see what areas you may need to have a little bit of focus on and trying to release. Just taking some breaths. Remember, you can go with the line of the muscle or cross-sectionally, going side to side. And then working our way down into our soleus. Some of you might be tighter more towards the ankle or more towards the middle of the calf. Again, going up and down, side to side, or holding in a spot you might find tension. And then maybe moving to another spot you might find tension. Now we're going to get into our piriformis muscle. Our piriformis muscle goes right underneath our gluteus maximus muscle, so it sits right underneath that. It's a common area of tension. It attaches on our pelvis and goes across to the outside of our hips, so pretty much runs direct, kind of in the middle of our glutes. So we're going to get into that area. So you're going to have your knees bent, and you're going to be lying down for this one. You can bring the ball, grab the ball. You're going to cross your right ankle onto your left knee, bridge up just a little bit, and place the ball right onto your right glute. We're only rolling through our right glute at this time, going side to side. Don't bring the ball across from the right side to the left side. Again, you can go side to side. If you find a sore spot, you can hold on it. You're kind of rocking your hips side to side, pressing through that left heel. You can also move the ball up or down through that area. A common area of tension is towards that outer hip. You may even roll your hip kind of over to that one side. If you do notice that you may be a little bit tighter on the outside of the hip, those could be some of your external hip rotator muscles. You can extend that leg out and slightly roll onto your side as well and kind of work into that area. So either option. If you are working your piriformis, this will open up a little bit more to have more access into that particular muscle. Finding a sore spot, making sure that you're breathing in and out. Roll side to side. You can lightly pull it to another spot. can either hold it or work a little bit side to side. And then we're going to go on to the other side. So going on to our left side, you're going to cross your left ankle this time onto your right knee, hip up, bring the ball onto that left glute, roll side to side. If you don't find any sore spots in there, you can kind of move the ball down a little bit or move the ball up a little bit. Just staying away though from your bones, so no direct pressure on the hip joint, but just the muscles that surround it. Find is there any areas of tension you can hold and breathe. We're about 30 to 60 seconds in one spot, no longer than 60 seconds though. And then you can even just move it, even just an inch to the side if that area is kind of sore, and then just hold that spot. Remember to breathe in those sore spots that you might have. And then gently release that foot. We're going to go into the mid-back area. For some people, this can be a little bit more tender. If you have, you can always place a towel over, even if you have a tennis ball, or I have a lacrosse ball. So lacrosse ball is going to be pretty firm if you haven't done this before. Might be a little bit too much. You can always pat it with a towel as well. I'll also show you in a minute how you can do this on a wall for a little bit more control and less pressure. But since we're laying down right now, you're going to take the ball, place it not on your bone, on the inside of the shoulder blade and the inside of the spine. So if I'm putting the ball in my left side, it's going to run right in the middle of that shoulder blade and spine, kind of towards the top part of the shoulder blade. Now, when I'm in this position, I can actually kind of push through my heels and shift up and down. I can also use movement with my arm to kind of change those areas of tension. So if I bring my arm up and over, just nice, slow and controlled, you'll feel those muscle fibers shifting just a little bit. Don't forget to breathe. You can even take your arm at a diagonal line because that opens up the shoulder blade just a little bit more as you bring the arm across. So there's different ways that you can move your arm. I'm just going through a couple options. Release your arm down. Now I want you to slide the ball down towards the middle of your shoulder blade. So you're going to slide your hips up, push through the heels so that the ball's right in the middle of that shoulder blade area now. Take a couple deep breaths in and out. That's pretty tight. You can stay here. You can add movement to the arms. If that's too much for you with moving the arms, you can just lay there, or you can kind of roll side to side or up and down in that one little spot. Remember, you have the option also of moving that arm across. Whatever helps to release tension for you. One more spot, side the hips up one more time. Now you're more towards the base of that shoulder blade. And just moving the arms 3 or 5 times in each spot will help to release all that tension in through the thoracic spine and that shoulder blade area. There's a lot of muscles that are attaching and going across there. This can also help with posture by releasing some of those bound areas. It can help to increase mobility in the shoulder and the thoracic spine. And then you're going to roll off to the side and then grab your ball and then switch it over to the other side. Same position, right on the inside of the shoulder blade and spine, on the right side this time, more towards the upper part of the shoulder blade. Option to move that arm up and down 3 to 5 times. Inhale in as you release. Exhale in as you bring it up. You also can go across the body at a diagonal line. Also can just hold if that's too much. And one side of the body can be different than the other. So just listen to your body, see how it's feeling in each of these different options. And then you're going to press through the heels and slide your hips back just an inch or two so that the ball is in the middle of the shoulder blade. Same options. Extending overhead and back. Good, or going across the body. And one more position, more towards the bottom part of that shoulder blade. You can slide up and down. You can move those arms. Making sure you're using that breath. Deep inhales and exhales, trying to help your body to relax. Some of these areas might be sore or tight. And then as you come up, roll onto your side, pushing yourself up. And I'm going to show you those same couple options standing if that's too much for you. You can do this even in your glutes by rolling up against the wall. So if you step your feet forward just a little bit so that your body weight is pushing back into the wall, you can do that same one that we just did into the piriformis and the hips. You can even turn sideways and kind of work into those areas that might have some tension. So if you have a lot of tension or a lot of soreness, that's an option. You can control this a little bit more. Further out you put your feet and can press back a little bit more pressure you'll have on that. Same thing with the ball. If you have a tube sock, place the ball in the tube sock and then you can swing that over your shoulder, and then if the ball won't slip out and drop on you. So that's an option that you can do it there. So placing it right here, same spots that we did. You can push, kind of bending the knees, pushing back into those spots. You can even add, if you find kind of a sore spot, you can even add some of those same movements we were doing when you were laying down. Or it might just feel good to kind of roll around in those areas a little bit easier. Remember to take some deep breaths in and out. And then relax. We're going to do two more. We have your upper traps, which can be an area that can get really tight if some of you are working from home or you're sitting at the computer a long time. This one can feel good to release this upper trap muscle in here. Also, your pectoralis major and minor, your chest muscles right here, those can become very bound and tight, especially if you're in more of that forward position a lot in everyday life. So you're wanting to open up and expand, releasing the chest as well. You can use a doorway to do that by placing, if I'm going to start on my left side. I'm going to place the ball. We're going to go with your pecs first, right across here. Never rolling on breast tissue, always, or the bone of the shoulder joint. So it's just this small little area right here. I'm going to put it up against the wall and lean my shoulder into the ball. I'm going to roll side to side, just in those little spots. If I find any areas of tension I can hold in that spot, the more I push into it, the more I can increase pressure. So if you don't want to push very hard, don't push a lot of your body weight into the doorway. Move side to side or find another spot. Nice deep breaths in and out. It is just a small little spot right through the front, across the chest and right in the front of the shoulder. I'll show you some arm movements you can do as well on the other side. Going to the other side, this time I'll show you some arm options. So as I'm here, I'm in that same position. I'm pushing up against the wall. You can take your thumbs up. So I'm pushing my thumb back as I'm pressing into the wall. If it's easier to hold a little bit with the opposite hand, you can. You can also place a yoga block on the wall, and that'll put you a little bit further away from the wall to do these positions. You can also angle up like a Y. So I would be moving my arm up in this direction like this. Three to 5 times. I can also hold in that position as I'm pressing up against the wall. Going into your traps, on this one, you're going to go into a split stance, 1 foot behind. You're hinged forward just a little bit more, and I'm placing the ball right on the top of my shoulder, not on the bones of my cervical spine or my collarbone, but right on that muscle that kind of, some of you might have a real kind of tight tension right there. That's what we're releasing. So I'm gonna lean in to the wall. I'll show you a different view, leaning into the wall from this side. And on this one, you're just gonna roll back and forth in that spot or holding it, find an area of tension that you can hold. You also have an option of adding arm movements. You can do some of the similar ones for the chest. You can add those Ys or out to the side, or you can just press and hold. It's a small little movement that you're going side to side. And then you'll want to switch and do the other side too. So going over to the other side, rolling back and forth. You can also add those arm movements. So different options. You can get past the wall as well too. Kind of roll side to side into that wall. Move those arms, you can just find a spot to hold it. When you're doing your upper traps too, you can also add a little bit of movement through your neck. So if you drop your chin towards your armpit, kind of slowly as you go through, if you're holding in one spot. You can also kind of turn and rotate almost as if you were looking over your shoulder. So you can add head rotations or arm movement with this one. Nice deep breaths in and out. And then gently release on that. Just kind of notice how your posture might feel. If you have kind of that rounding of your upper back and that chin coming out just a little bit and that kind of cervical, your cervical spine is forward just a little bit, or the rounding of the shoulders. Those last ones that we did are great for that, to release in that mid-back area, your pecs and your upper traps. Same options if you're, for the lower body, if you have any misalignments into the feet, ankles, knees, or hips. Those ones that we just did on the floor, rolling on the ball, rolling your calves out, rolling your hips out. Those are great options for those. You can do these at the beginning of your workout as part of your movement preparation to get the alignment better, so then when you go to work out, your body's going to be in better alignment, and it'll be, those tissues will be more warmed up, ready for you to add load to it if it's a strength training day, or maybe if you're going for a walk, you might want to roll out your feet or your calves. You can also use these at the end of your workouts as a great way to reduce any of the tension that you might have created during your workouts and help you to recover faster.